Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio. So today, I'm a little bit excited. You see, a couple of days ago, I showed you that we are getting a Toxtricity V. I showed you that it was the poster child for the new set in Japan. Rebellion Crash, if I remember correctly, and I showed you that there was a promo coming in the Rebellion Crash special pack. And I told you that it was going to be a lightning type because the promo image we had featured lightning energy. I didn't think we'd be looking at the full card quite so soon, and I certainly didn't think we would have an English language image of it. But we do, ladies and gentlemen. So cool. Shout out to the lovely Matthew Arrive Immunity over on Twitter for being the lovely person who shared the image so we could have a little bit of a gander of it. So let's start off with a basic, shall we? And it's in English, so no translations needed. Yay! Etc. So starting off then with the basics, we've got 210 HP. That is on the higher end for Pokemon V, though we do have plenty of Pokemon out there like Regirock that can beat it. Now it is worth noting, and this was a big question, literally until today, no, they are not evolutions. In the games, Toxtricity is a Stage 1 Pokemon, but it is just a basic Pokemon in the card game. Think about something like Manectric, a Stage 1 Lightning Pokemon or Electric Pokemon in the video games, but when it comes over as a Big E, Big X, the second lot of EXs, it comes out as a basic. And interestingly enough, Manectric, deliberate example, had a Mega Evolution. We know that Toxtricity, or at least we highly suspect, it is getting a V Max. Although, worth pointing out at this stage that Toxtricity is actually coming in its own set. Nice little promo box of a bunch of packs, a Jumbo, and just the regular Pokemon V. So that's kinda cool. Anyway, back to the basics then. We've got a retreat cost of 2, which is higher than we might like, but don't forget we've got that new balloon card, which will help us out to get free retreat, so that's kind of nice. We got a weakness to fighting, which is a bit of a weird one, because up until recently, lightning Pokemon like Pikachu and Zekrom were everywhere, and lots of people were playing fighting. But Pikachu and Zekrom have now gone away, which means fewer people will be playing fighting, but actually it turns out more Pico V is phenomenal, so it's probably going to be a bad weakness because there's lots of good lightning Pokemon around at the moment. And it is worth pointing out that as a lightning Pokemon, you're hitting weakness now on the new water Pokemon. Things like Lapras, you are now hitting for weakness. Water Pokemon are now lightning weak. They used to flick between them, but it looks like they're going back to lightning weakness. And you're a lightning Pokemon, that means Thunder Mountain Prism Star to reduce your attack cost. It means Tapu Koko Prism Star to accelerate a little bit of energy. It means Electro Power to do a little bit of extra damage. Frankly, ladies and gentlemen, it is a really good time. There's a bunch of typings around at the moment that have a bunch of support. Lightning is very much among the best of them. But what does it do? Well, the first attack isn't very good, and we aren't going to spend much time on it. 1 colourless energy, attach a lightning energy from your discard pile to this Pokemon. Doesn't do any damage, it just accelerates an energy from your discard. The problem is you're a 2-prize Pokemon. You give up 2 prizes when KO'd, which means that you essentially sit in the active. You accelerate an energy with the hope that you will be able to attack later, except you might never get a chance to attack later because your opponent can just KO you. Oh. Yeah, that's not good. I equate this very, very much to Reshiram GX. Reshiram GX had a very, very similar first attack, which just accelerated a bit of energy. Reshiram, 1 colourless energy, search your deck for 2 fire energy and attach them to this Pokemon, which is actually better than Toxtricity. The problem is you're using your attack to accelerate energy to your Pokemon, and then leaving that same Pokemon in the active, giving your opponent a free hit on it. No, not a fan. And seriously, with Thunder Mountain Prism Star and Tapu Koko, we don't really need that much energy acceleration here, so let's just move on, shall we? But Venom Slap I could get behind. 2 lightning, 1 colorless energy, 120 damage. Your opponent's active Pokemon is now poisoned. Really? Now in a vacuum this is a pretty good attack. But it really depends on what other stuff you're playing and whether we've got other Pokemon. Now the thing to remember is we are very, very strongly expecting to get a VMAX of Toxtricity. I mean, like I say, it's literally on the booster pack for Rebellion Crash. That is Sun and Moon 2 in Japan. Now Japan are getting it in February. We will be getting it in our May set, because our Sun and Moon 1 set is February. Okay. So we're expecting a VMAX. So it may well be that all the discussion we have about Toxtricity here becomes completely irrelevant because a really good VMAX is revealed and we go, oh yeah, let's just play that instead. But let's just continue for the moment, shall we? So we've got free energy, 120 damage plus poison. Well, the good news here is that if you're hitting for weakness, you're going to get a lot of stuff. Lapras V goes straight down, though the VMAX unfortunately does not. But remember, we've got poison here, so you're not actually hitting 240 with weakness, you're hitting a minimum 250. You're not hitting 120, you're hitting 130. Now maybe your opponent plays something like the new Galarian Rapidash, which just turns off special conditions, and then you don't get the extra from poison, but you'll probably be getting the extra from poison here. Which means that those pesky 130 HP Pokemon, Naganadel sees a huge amount of play. Oh look, now you are getting a KO, whereas you would otherwise not be. And the poison can be taken advantage of. In Expanded, we got stuff like Burbank City Gym and Survivor, which is nice. But remember that in Standard, I showed you the other day the new Toxicroak. Now, I did also give you an apology here. I used a mistranslation in the video, though I have pinned a comment, apologised on Twitter, and mentioned it in previous videos. I think I've covered me bases. But the new Toxicroak increases poison by 2 between turns. So now instead of doing 1 damage between turns for poison, you are doing 3 damage between turns for poison. So 1 Toxicroak, and you do 120, but it immediately goes up to 150 with a poison. And then if your opponent doesn't get it out the active, it then goes up to 180, and there's a whole bunch of basic GXs and Pokemon V, think things like Indeedee V, which have all of a sudden gone down in essentially 1 hit, though Indeedee V is actually a terrible example, because of course they've got an ability that lets them heal 20 damage. So maybe we should use an example like Keldeo GX, for example. And then of course after your turn it goes up to 210, and after their turn it goes up to 240, etc. But there's nothing to tell you that you have to stop at 1 Toxicroak. 2 Toxicroak, and all of a sudden you're doing 120 and then 5 damage counters between turns. Which is to say, something like Keldeo goes down in a single hit, something like Morpeko V goes down in a single hit, and by the time it comes back to you, there's 220, which is literally every Pokemon V, other than Zamazenta, which actually has 230. This can add up quickly. But I think you need to make it add up. Make no mistake about it, free energy 120 plus poison isn't really good enough. But if you're adding with the poison, it becomes good enough. Now, in terms of the energy, you can get this going super easily. Thunder Mountain, Prism Star, Tapu Koko, Prism Star, boom. You go second, turn 120 plus poison. This is not a difficult attack cost to pay. If you're behind on prizes, you could always use something like Counter Gain or something like that. But the reality is we've got decent ways to accelerate energy for Lightning Pokemon, at least in the early game. But the thing is, for the same attack cost, you could be using Tapu Koko V that does a flat 200 damage. Now, it can't use it next turn, but we've had a million Pokemon like that and it's never hurt us in the past. And you've got free retreat and a much better first attack, 20 damage, draw 2 cards. Or you could use something like Zero Aura GX that does 160 damage. And also gives all of your Pokemon free retreat if they've got a lightning energy attached. Or you could use Morpeko V, which has proven to be a very good card already. And I know that you can use Electro Power for Toxtricity, but you can use Electro Power for all the other Pokemon. And if you invest in Toxtricity, it's a good card. If you're going to have 2 Toxicroak on the bench and be playing 4 Electro Power in your deck so that it's not actually 120 plus 10 damage between turns, it's 150 plus 7 damage counters between turns, then Toxtricity becomes a little bit of a beast. But if you're just using it for 120 plus regular poison, I don't see any real reason you'd play this over Tapu Koko V, who just does more damage and has free retreat and a better first attack. So let's go ahead and give Toxtricity V free Wassies. It's a good card, and in a vacuum it is a good card. And if you invest in it, it's a really good card. But basic lightning Pokemon that attack for free energy, we are not lacking in those Pokemon at the moment. We need a reason to play these. And I'm not sure this is giving us enough of a reason. Though do remember, we're expecting a VMAX, so everything could change. But I want to know what you think about this. Do you think it is worth playing this over other Pokemon? Are you excited about a poison deck? Go nuts in the comment section, but do remember the rule. Be nice, would ya? And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at @TheWassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. And please do make sure you're checking out youtube.com/WassyPlays, where you can find out about a bunch of games that don't have Pokemon in, but do have awesome. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.